Abigail is a new horror movie from the creative team behind Ready or Not. Welcome back to Movie Health Community, the internet's #1 source of health warnings at the movies. Let's talk about Abigail. First off, is this movie safe for photosensitive audiences? The answer is... shockingly, yes. This movie is almost completely safe for photosensitive audiences. This movie has one scene where somebody uses a cigarette lighter to light a dark hallway. There's a bit of a flicker to the light. And then there is one scene where the lights are flickering off. It's not that they're flashing, it's that they're flashing off. Both of these scenes are really short, so these do not take up a very significant amount of runtime. And at least for the cigarette lighter scene, there should be some warning. So for flashing lights, we are giving Abigail a 3 out of 10. In terms of mental health, this movie is very bloody and very gory. The only part of the plot I'm going to spoil for you is about the opening scene. It involves the kidnapping of a child. We've had a request to include kidnapping triggers in our evaluations, so this is us doing that. There's a scene where a woman walks in and finds a very gory scene in front of her, and it does cause her to vomit. Not on screen, but very graphic sound. Later on, there's a man who vomits a lot of blood, and there are several seconds of body language warning when that's about to happen. Now, is this movie any good? This comes with a bit of a disclaimer. I tend to rate horror movies more harshly than other movies just because I'm not typically a horror fan. For my horror movies, I need one of two things. I need it to be either completely over-the-top, ridiculous, violent, messy, creative, any of that. Thanksgiving is a good example of completely over-the-top and ridiculous that I love. And then the other thing I need is characters that I really care about. The It duology does a really good job with that. Abigail has both. I know I said in my first Omen review that this was the best horror movie so far of 2024. That's not the case anymore. It's Abigail now. This movie was a blast. This movie was so much fun. And even though these horrific things are happening, you can tell that everybody involved is just having a blast making this movie. I started to get a little distracted when I saw the names of the actors at the beginning of this movie, because I saw the name Angus Cloud and I'm like, wait a minute. That's someone who's no longer alive, isn't it? And then sure enough, the first thing that happens in the credits is In Loving Memory of Angus Cloud. And it made me completely forget that Dan Stevens was in this movie. And so when Dan Stevens' character is in the majority of this movie, he completely disappears into the role and I forget it's Dan Stevens. And this movie is a really good example of just more fun he's having alongside his role with Smiling Friends, or not with Smiling, alongside his role with Solar Opposites. I'm glad to see Melissa Barrera doing more work in lead roles. Kathryn Newton, after just recently seeing her in one of her first lead roles, it was fun to see her in a way I'm used to in a supporting role. She, as always, she completely brought it. But the real hardest worker in this movie, by far, is Alisha Weir, who plays Abigail. She has to do so much with this movie. She has to be a really talented actress who can balance both innocent and horrifying. She has to do complicated ballet stuff that's definitely way beyond any of my ability. She has to sit through intense prosthetic work and act through that. She's responsible for the bulk of the action. If you saw the movie Ready or Not and thought, you know what this movie really needs? A dynamic like the crew of strangers from Reservoir Dogs, then you're going to like this movie. If you saw Ready or Not and thought it would work really well with that and thought, you know, it'd be even better if we put a Megan type character in there, then yeah, you're really gonna like this movie. Basically, if you look for over the top and just fun with stuff that's really dark and really gory, then this is absolutely a movie made for you. I listened to Chris Stuckman review this movie and he talked about how he would have preferred seeing this completely blind. And I have to agree with that endorsement, that this movie is best experienced as blind as possible. So if you haven't seen any trailers and you can handle the trigger warnings that I gave earlier in this video, take this opportunity to go see Abigail as blind as you can. He also said he wishes there was a place you could just get the content warnings without getting spoilers for the movie. That's what we're trying to do here. So if you agree with what Chris Stuckman said there, make sure you stick around on this channel. This is what we talk about. I am going to give Abigail an A. Thank you so much to our readers on Tumblr and Facebook, and as always, an extra special thanks to our patrons over on our Patreon page, whose names are scrolling on the screen like credits right now. As a reminder, nothing produced by Movie Health Community is medical advice, nor has any of it been reviewed by any medical professionals. Be sure to leave a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when we post new videos, and leave a comment if you have anything to add to this discourse, especially if you disagree with anything I've said. We love hearing from you. And as always, stay safe at the movies.